To get rich, you first must lie to yourself. You see, external reality is simply a reflection of an internal cause. In other words, who you are being internally, or just your identity, or the beliefs you hold about yourself, determines what you get externally, or your circumstances. You know, the house you live in, the car you drive, the number of digits you've got in your bank account. These circumstances are a lagging indicator of who you believe you are. Look around, these are simply your beliefs projecting back at you. Your business is simply a reflection of your beliefs. And so it's your identity, these beliefs, which are the sort of hidden gravitational force that controls everything in your life. Everything that will ever happen is this gravitational force through the thoughts that you think and the emotions that you feel, determining the actions that you take. And ultimately, the actions you take is going to determine what you get. And so if you radically want to change what you get in this life, you first must radically change who you are. You must change who you are and lift above your current environment before you see any change. You see, you must become the version of you for whom your goal is inevitable. The version of you right now for whom it would be completely unavoidable for you not to achieve whatever it is you want, financial success. And so you must become that individual before there's anything supporting it in your external environment, the people you're around, the house you're in, the state of your business. You must become a person that is illogical. And you may say this is lying to yourself, but ultimately this is how it works, because who you are is a leading indicator of what you're going to get. And so how do you make this shift? Well, it's very simple. You just embody. You just become. You method act. You embody that person. But to understand who that person is, you first must understand specifically what it is you want. With a financial lens or a financial goal, it's very easy because it's quantifiable. How much money do you want? Okay, great. Write that number down. Next question. Who do I need to become to achieve that goal? Or who do I need to become to make that goal inevitable? And so what action does this person take? What do they do on a daily basis? What's their weekly routine? What does their month look like? What does their year look like? What do they eat? How do they walk? How do they talk? What's their posture? Everything. How do they think? How do they feel? You must understand everything about this individual. Ultimately, it's a version of you, and so you can become very familiar with it. And then you just embody it. You know, at first it will feel strange, it will feel illogical. But ultimately the self, who you fundamentally are, is simply what you're familiar with. It marks the boundary of the known. And so once you step into that version of you and you do it for long enough, you repeat it and you continue to fight past that unfamiliarity, that resistance, this is ultimately who you're going to become, because repetition creates the familiarity you're looking for. And so ultimately this will become the hardwired version of you. Neurons that fire together wire together. There's an ancient Greek philosopher called Heraclitus who said character is destiny. And so if you can hold this version of you for long enough, the external reality has no choice but to reflect that, because you will be naturally taking the actions towards whatever it is, whatever your financial goal is. And so you must lie to yourself. You must lift above your environment and take the action. I've got one more bonus tip to make this easier. You see, if you find it difficult to become someone that has no evidence to support it, create that evidence, create an undeniable stack of evidence that you are who you say you are. It's important to understand, I'm not saying embody the version of you who already achieved the goal. That would be embodying the outcome. So a lot of people say that you should pretend like you're rich before you are. That's not quite what I'm saying here. I'm not saying buy a $20 coffee or stay in a nice hotel when you've got $100 in your account. That's mimicking the outcomes. What I'm saying is you must mimic the person who actually got you there. Sure, the outcomes are great, the lifestyle is great, but that's not what got someone rich. That's what they do when they get there. You understand the difference there between the actions and the outcomes. And so I'm saying mimic the actions. And so ultimately you just need to become the person for whom the goal is inevitable. And if you are being that person, the goal will happen. It has no choice. You can't break a universal law. And so to accelerate that process, you need to build up confidence and conviction and certainty, and you get that through building an undeniable stack that you are who you say you are, right? So you wrote down the action that you need to take, the daily inputs that I need to do to get closer to whatever goal I have, growing my business, whatever vehicle you're in. And so you do those inputs daily. You make that the goal. You optimize for those inputs. And so you continue to take the action, detaching yourself from the outcome, You continue to take the action. You expect nothing. And when you expect nothing, you gain everything because you are winning every single day. The goal is now the process rather than the outcome, and that's where you build undeniable certainty and conviction that you are who you say you are, because you're winning every single day. You are becoming this inevitable operator. And ultimately, the only way you will achieve the goal is through taking the action. But becoming the person for whom the goal is inevitable makes that action obvious, easy, and inevitable. And so you combine them together. You become the person for whom the goal is inevitable, and you take that relentless action and you record that evidence. You continue to rewire who you are to change what you get. And that's ultimately how you radically change. That's how you lie to yourself. But let me leave you with this. Truth is this illusion. We are subjective creatures. We hold these lenses of belief. We cannot see objective reality. We see through the lens of belief or perception that we have of the world. And so truth is this dynamic thing that changes. You know, one thing that was false to you at one point can now be true, just depending on the experience that you have. And so allow yourself to be paradoxical. To be exceptional, you first must be an exception. And so allow it to be illogical, allow it to go against what you believe to be true, because ultimately true and false on the subjective plane that we live in, it's kind of an illusion. It doesn't really exist. Objective reality, we cannot really observe it. And so allow yourself to lie to yourself, allow yourself to be delusional maybe, to achieve what you want out of this life. Delusional is okay. Why would we hold beliefs that we didn't even choose in the first place? Choose a lens of beliefs, choose an identity that serves you, rather than you serving it, and you can achieve anything you want in this life. I hope you found this valuable. Godspeed.